Hi, welcome to Overthinking Entrepreneur. I'm Megan, and I've had a successful online business for a few years now, and I think I overthought probably about 90% of my decisions along the way. Honestly, I just overthought whether I should say 90% or pretty much every decision in this intro. So if you find that relatable, you are definitely in the right place. In this podcast, I will help you get out of overthinking and into action so that your online business can finally start growing. This week, I want to do something a little bit different and just give you a quick pep talk. It's not you, it's July. What I mean by that is that July, for most online businesses, tends to be one of the slowest months of the entire year. Does this mean that this is definitely a slow month for you? No. And if it's not, you might not even want to listen to this episode. In fact, you can probably save it for a different time. I'm going to be speaking about what's going on in July a bit, but I think a lot of the concepts can apply anytime things are feeling just hard and like you're trying to swim upstream and just not getting anywhere. But I know that for many people, this is all coming together right now. And that's why I want to talk about it, because it has been a hard year. I know more people this year who have had life just coming at them with thing after thing. I know that every time we go to the grocery store, we are just shocked by how much it costs. People are making more money yet struggling more than they have been. People have been just on the verge of burnout and mental health crises. And I don't mean to laugh. It's almost like if you don't laugh, you'll cry kind of thing, you know? It's been tough for a lot of people. And I don't say this to bring you down if things haven't been tough for you. Like I said, if your business is doing really well, honestly, I think you should turn off this episode, because I think that there's times where we're doing great, and then all of a sudden everyone else tells us that things should be going badly right now, and then that messes with your head just as much, you know? So I've had times where things are going really well for me, and I see other people, like for example, Facebook groups. I have been hearing for years now from so many gurus that Facebook groups are dead, and I still love my Facebook group, and I think it's because I built it the right way. I didn't build it the way so many of them taught, with a focus on mass growth and numbers and fast and doing all those things. And then it came down to a lot of those tricks didn't work anymore, and the algorithm got tougher. And now your group really only works if your members truly love your group and want to be there. And many of those people did not build that the right way. And so now they're out saying Facebook groups are dead. And I've been simply ignoring that because I love my group. Does the algorithm show less people than it used to? It does. Do I find it frustrating? Yeah. Does it make me want to throw in the towel in my group? Nope. My group is still rocking and rolling, bringing me lots of leads and doing really well. So there are times when there may be people who are speaking to problems or struggles that you simply aren't having. And when that's the case, don't listen. Like, why would you let that seed plant in your head about the problem? Right? Like if things are going well for you, do not listen to content that is designed for people who are struggling. Okay. And that's really what this episode is for. So if you are doing well, don't listen, because there will be people that'll tell you summer is slow, summer is dead, it's awful. And if summer's going well for you, that's amazing. And I'm super happy for you. However, if you are someone who has been feeling the struggle, this episode is for you. And I think that it's a fine line between being honest and straightforward, but also not veering into the negative. And I try and walk this line because I want to be honest and realistic. And I know for me, this year has felt harder than other years in business. It just has. I have come up with some things that I've been really excited about and launched them, and they did okay, but nowhere near the amount of people joined that would have, 2 years ago. Things are just tougher right now. And there's things that I have done that have caused this. There's things that I can pinpoint that I need to work on. But I also just know that it's tougher to make a sale right now than it was a few years ago. But at first, I thought I was the problem. And I let myself think that I was doing something wrong, that it was me, that maybe people just didn't like me anymore, or they didn't like my new ideas, right? Our brains just spiral. We spiral through all of these things. And when I finally saw other people talking about, no, this year is just really hard across the board, most people are finding it more difficult to make sales than they used to this year. It was so freeing for me, and it was so good for my mental health to hear that it wasn't me that It's just everyone right now. And so I want to provide that for you if you haven't heard anyone talking about this yet. If you are feeling that way, if you've had your business and things used to work a certain way and now they just aren't, and you're wondering what is going on, and you're wondering if you're doing something wrong, you're probably not. The world has changed a little bit. The online business world looks different this year than it has in the past. First of all, it's more saturated. There's a lot more people. When I first started my business and when I was doing videos and talking about the things I was talking about, I certainly do not want to pretend like I'm the only one who was doing that, because I was not by any means. But now, every time you turn around, there's someone new doing it. There's so much more saturation and so much more competition. And so it is harder to stand out because they can sneeze and find 10 other people who do what you do and do it in different ways. There's also been an explosion with all of this AI stuff. And you probably know I have mixed thoughts on AI, but there are so many people out here now saying, hey, just go to ChatGPT, let it tell you what product to make, let it make your product, slap a price tag on it. And like, there's so many people now that are trying to make money who have no business selling what they're selling. They have no experience doing what they're doing. They're out here telling you that they're going to help you make this wildly successful business. This master resell right stuff has grown like wildfire, and I'm not necessarily opposed to it with people doing it the right way, but the majority of people are not doing it the right way. They have no experience, they have not built an audience, they have not made money, and they're selling the promise of making all this money. And then after a few months, when they haven't made money, they come out and say, well, that was a scam, I'm done. Like, every time I open the Threads app, I'm sure it's just because I clicked on a few discussions about it, but every time I open the Threads app, my feed is full of people saying digital marketing was a scam, and I'm throwing in the towel. And I'm like, of course, you bought this thing with the promise of selling it to make thousands, but you didn't have so many people are trying to make money in inauthentic ways and selling things right now that they have no business selling. And it's making it harder for the rest of us that are trying to do it the right way. Coupled with uncertainty in the world, I have just kind of checked out from the news periodically because I just can't even handle how many different stressful things are going on in the world. And on top of that, we have kind of this economic downturn, however you want to phrase it. I don't think we're technically in a recession, but people are struggling, right? And so all of this has kind of come together and turned this into a pretty difficult year for online business. And July is already a hard month, even in good years. July is kind of peak summer, and summer on social media is different than the rest of the year. People, they're still scrolling. It's not like people just suddenly aren't addicted to their phones in the summer. That is not the case. People are still scrolling. They're still checking social media, but they're doing it differently. And maybe they're busy and they're on vacation and they're out of town and they're spending more time with friends and family, and they're not scrolling maybe the same amount or the same times that they used to. Or maybe they love watching your longer videos the rest of the year, but it's harder in the summer. I have found that people are listening to the podcast less right now, which I find interesting because I feel like I almost have more time to listen. I'm outside on walks and I'm pulling weeds and I have like plenty of things in the summer that make it so that I'm still consuming that type of content. But just all around, it's just different in the summer most of the time. And July is the peak of all that. It's when people are going on their vacations and not looking to spend money on their business. They have kind of, and maybe you don't sell to other businesses, but maybe they're not looking to make changes, right? What you do is more of a improvement, like a personal growth product in some way, whether like what I do, where I help people with their businesses, whether you help them work on healthy changes in their home, whether you help them lose weight, whether you help them learn a new skill, that might not be what they're focused on right now. They are just trying to have fun with their friends. And so the buying habits are different, the scrolling habits are different, everything is just different. And July tends to be kind of the peak of that. And this podcast actually was inspired by a post that I wrote last year where I started it. It's not you, it's July. And I had so many people say, oh my gosh, thank you so much, because I wasn't sure what I was doing wrong this year. And that's why I figured it'd be really good to talk about on the podcast. So those are some of the reasons why you might be feeling the hurt right now. Those are some of the reasons why you might just be feeling possibly like a failure or just discouraged or burnt out or down. It's really easy to get burnt out when we keep pushing and pushing and pushing and nothing's coming from it. When you feel like you're working so hard and not seeing the results from it, that can really make you feel burnt out. So if you are on the verge of that burnt out feeling, if you're feeling just exhausted and uninspired, and maybe you're even thinking about quitting your business, I'll just be honest with you, a lot of people are going to quit their business this year. They are. And so I would encourage you, if your business is something that you truly want, to make that commitment to yourself right now that you're going to weather this storm. It's a hard year. It just is. But it's not going to be a hard year forever. But you have to make the commitment to tough it out and keep going, to go after what it is that you truly want, and to be ready to reap the rewards when things do get better. What you can't do is say, well, I'll just check out, and then when things get easier, I'll come back. You will not come back to the same business that you walked away from. And you'll learn so much. The people who tough it out right now, the people who make a commitment to growing and pivoting a little bit and adapting to the market and learning the lessons and sticking it out, will be the people that really reap the rewards when things get better again. And so I want you to just decide right now that you're not going anywhere, and that yes, this has been a hard season, but you can do hard things, and it's worth it to you to keep going. Another thing that I want you to know is that the numbers, the sales, the enrollments, whatever that looks like in your business, it does not determine your worth as a human. It never does. Whether someone decides to buy your thing or not has nothing to do with your worth as a person, with you not being good enough, with you not being in any way not enough. It never has anything to do with that. It is very, very rarely a personal decision when someone decides whether they want to buy from you or not. Now, if they like you, that can influence them saying an easier yes, but ultimately it comes down to, do you sell something that they want or need? And if you don't, they're not going to buy it. And that's it. That's really what it comes down to. And also it comes down to, are you getting your thing in front of enough people who want or need it? That's a big part of what's been going on with me. I have not been putting enough focus on growing my network. I used to spend a lot more time doing this, and I have realized that that's one of the things that I let slide. When I had my son, and I mean, he's 2 years old now. I keep talking about when I had him, and it's been ongoing new challenges, right? I miss the days when he was a baby and he would just sit there in his bouncer and I could do stuff and he'd watch me. Now I can't turn my back for 2 seconds. So it's gotten easier and harder in different ways. But I used to spend a lot more time actively growing my network and actively connecting with new people. And I also used to have a position with a company which just automatically brought me a pretty steady stream of new people into my world. And neither of those things have been happening for the past almost 2 years now. And I also stopped doing my free challenges, which was another big thing that brought new people into my world. And so not only is it a hard year, but I stopped growing my network in the way that I used to. And if you have not listened to my episode about why your business is like farming, you need to go listen to that, because steady stream of new people, the right new people seeing what it is that you do, is hands down the number one most important thing for your business. So if you're like me, you've possibly been feeling the hurt that things aren't selling quite as well as they used to. And I don't want it to sound like my business is like crashing and burning. Everything that I'm launching is still doing well, just not as well as I want it to and as well as I know that it could do. And yes, some of it is the year, but a large portion of it is me not getting my stuff in front of new people, not enough new people. And I know that. And so I have to remind myself sometimes that it has nothing to do with me or what I'm creating, whether the idea is good or not. Ultimately, what it has to do with is, are enough people seeing it? And they just aren't. And that's why my numbers aren't where I want them to be, because I am not exposing enough people to what I'm selling to have the results that I want. It's not anything to do with me or my worth. There's no emotional component to this, or there shouldn't be. It is purely, I have not shown enough people what I'm selling to get enough people to buy it. And so if you are letting this mean that you're a failure, or there's something wrong with you, or anything about your self-worth or your confidence or who you are as a person, I need you to stop that right now, okay? That is not what this is about. This is about, have your actions matched the results that you want to get, with the understanding that your actions need to change year to year, month to month, right? What you're doing this month cannot be the same as what you did 2 years ago and expect the same results. That's all that it is. The marketplace has changed. People's buying behaviors have changed. And you maybe haven't changed with it. When we're trying to still do things the way that we did them a few years ago and then feeling frustrated they're not working, and then we spiral and let it mean that we're a failure and there's something wrong with us and we suck and we're not cut out for this and all of these horrible, mean things that we say to ourselves when we're just simply not doing the right actions. And so I just want to remind you of that, because it's very easy to go to that headspace and to put that pressure on yourself and to feel like there's something that you've been doing wrong, or that you are failing as a person or a business owner or any of that kind of stuff. And I want you to just shake that off right now, okay? You are not a failure. Even if your business, quote unquote, fails, you yourself are not a failure. Your business is a separate thing that you are trying outside of you. And for the record, the vast majority of businesses fail, okay? Like, it's not like most people start a business, rocket this meteoric rise, become a millionaire overnight. Like, we sometimes get in our heads that we're doing something wrong, but really, if you look at other people and you look at even the businesses that you view as a success, if you truly go back and dig in, and this is one of the things that I love about the time that we live in right now, pretty much any person you admire, go to YouTube or podcasts or newspaper articles, magazine articles. I bet you can find an interview. If there is someone that you admire, I bet you can find at least one, probably a whole bunch of interviews with that person where they share the story of how they got where they are today. And I bet when you listen, you're going to say, holy crap, like they failed so many times. Like, I cannot even believe they made it to where they are. Like, when you compare what they went through to what you're going through, it can be both reassuring and some really good perspective, because I think sometimes we're like, well, everyone else is doing great and I'm just failing and everyone hates me and I suck and I can't ever seem to complete my to-do list and I can't do this and I don't have any ideas and I don't, right? Does this sound like your brain? Because of course, of course we're not thriving when we're speaking to ourselves that way, right? Like, we have to snap out of this and separate our worth as a human being and the way you think and speak to yourself from the results that your business is or not getting during one of the absolute hardest years for online business there has ever been. There are people who make a lot more money than you that have closed their business this year because things are hard this year. Okay, so stop letting yourself feel like a failure. Stop beating yourself up. It's just not helpful. That is not what we need to be doing here. So what do you want to do instead? I don't want to just tell you what not to do or just tell you that everything sucks and everything's hard right now and that's that. Okay, good episode. Go team, right? That's not what we're doing. But I just really want you to understand what's going on and let you hear some things that you might need to hear, because I know I've needed to hear them at different times this year. So what should you do instead if you've been feeling this way? I think the first most important thing is to really anchor back into, why are you doing this? For most people that follow me, at least, you didn't necessarily start your business for the money. Now, you want your business to make money. I'm not saying that you don't want the money or that you don't care about money at all. Of course, if you're putting in this work to your business, we want it to make money. But most people who follow me did not get started purely because they wanted to make money. They got started because they had a passion for helping people. They got started because they experienced some major change in their life or growth, or something has really helped them and they want to share it with other people. Most of you that follow me and that listen to this podcast, you got into your business for heart reasons, not bank account reasons. So I want you to anchor back into those heart reasons. Or maybe it's for fun. Maybe it's the friendships. Maybe it's the community. Maybe it's to give you that sense of purpose, something to focus on. Really anchor back into, why did you get started with this? And it's okay if it changed over time. I know some of you are network marketers who got started impulsively, that maybe don't anchor back into that. Well, I don't know. My friend asked me, so I said yes. Right? But like, really thinking about, why are you still here? Why do you do this? What do you want out of your business? And what does success look like to you? Because we get so caught up in other people's definitions of success. I remember I got so fixated on this idea of hitting a 10K month, because that's what it felt like the whole industry was focused on, these 10K months. It was this whole idea. And I was like, I got to hit a 10K month. And then I was like stressing myself out trying to make this happen. And then I hit a point of like, wait, do I care if I hit a 10K month? Like, I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it, of course, but does this mean anything to me? Honestly, it doesn't. I don't care. I don't really care that much, other than, I guess, bragging rights to other coaches, but I don't care about that. So sometimes we get swept up in what we think we should want or what other people are saying we should want, or that we should want this like leadership position or this certain income or this like status symbol that we should be sharing with other people. Or sometimes it can be hard if you had some success in the beginning and it slipped back and we feel like, well, I can't go backwards. Like I have to always be growing, always moving forward, and I'm not showing progress because it slipped back. What am I supposed to do? Do you actually care about that? Or are you caught up in what you think you should care about or what other people have put into your head? So that's my first thing, is just remember, why are you doing this, and focus on that again. If you are doing this because you truly love helping people, what are you doing to help people right now? And sometimes I get so caught up in the number side or the like what I think I should want side. I've had weeks, I'm ashamed to admit this, but I've had weeks where I was so focused on, like, I had set a goal for how many people I wanted to join whatever I was selling, and I didn't hit that number. But what I did receive was like 3 different messages from people saying, oh my gosh, this thing that you bought, or this thing really helped me, or thank you so much for doing this. Like amazing, incredible messages from people thanking me for something, a way that I had helped them. And I don't want to make it sound like I blew them off, but I sort of blew them off because I was so fixated on, but I didn't hit this goal, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. But why I ultimately got into this was the people, wanting to help people. And so those messages should be much more meaningful to me than the numbers. But because this year has been hard, and because it's been stressful, and because I feel like I've been working so hard, but still ultimately achieving less than I used to in the past, I'm letting myself get caught up on that instead of focusing on the things that truly matter to me. So remember why you're doing this and figure out what you can do to get connected to that again. If you have slipped away from your purpose, and it's much easier to do this when times are hard. When it feels like you're not getting where you want to go, it's really easy to fixate on why and what's going wrong. The next thing that I want you to do is really evaluate, what have you been doing? What are you doing to move your business forward and to try and make things change? If you've been feeling stuck or stressed or like a failure, or like things just aren't working the way that you want them to, take an honest look at what are the things that you've even been doing. Are you so focused on how can I make a sale? What can I do? What do people want from me? And I can tell you this with certainty, and if you've worked with me one-on-one, there's a good chance you've heard me say this. It is never the right idea to come from the mindset of what do I think will sell or what do I think will make money. Every time that I've had that mindset of like, ooh, I've got some bills coming up, I better make sure that I launch something that I think is going to sell really well, it never sells as well as I think that it will. When I focus on this is what I'm genuinely excited about, or this is what I really think people need right now, this is what I really think is going to help my people, that's what brings in the money, not when I say, how can I make money? So if you've been stuck in that place of like, I got to turn things around, what can I do? I just need that magical thing that's going to bring in all the, let go of that, okay? It has to come from that place of excitement and I want to help people, and this is what I really think that they need, instead of this is what I think is going to sell well. Also, are you doing the right things that it's going to take to bring in the results for your business? I have been saying for years now, I feel like I'm screaming into the void, you guys have to grow your network. Are you growing your network? Are you connecting with new people? And be really honest with yourself. And I don't mean, well, I made one new friend last month. No, that's not enough. You have to be actively connecting and getting in front of new people every single week, ideally every single day, but at least every single week if you want your business to maintain, to just maintain. And then even more so if you want it to grow. Your customers are not going to be your customers forever. You'll have some people who are with you for a really long time, and that's awesome. But you cannot just assume that people are going to be with you forever. Things happen, things change. And you need to be filling in the people who are leaving. You need to be bringing in new people to maintain those sales. And then you need to be bringing in even more people if you want to see growth on top of that. So if what you're doing is just posting in your same group with the same people that have been in there for 2 years, and maybe like a handful of new people have joined, but that's it. And you're just trying and trying and trying and trying and trying to convince these same people, it's not going to work, especially in July, you guys. If people didn't want it in April, when it's an easier time to make sales and you're still trying to sell the same things in the same way that wasn't working in April, it's 100% not going to work in July. I will tell you right now. Like, if it wasn't working during a quote unquote easier time of the year, but you're still doing the same thing during the hard time of year, it's definitely not going to work. You need to approach it differently. You need to get out of your rut, get unstuck, and try some different things, okay? A slightly different approach can change everything. And if you're not sure what your people need right now, get in there and talk to them. Instead of trying, sometimes I feel like this is almost like love languages. People are trying so hard to guess what their audience needs and trying to guess what people might want and guess what might sell. Have you talked to them? Have you had conversations? Have you been in there in your group or in your posts or in the DMs with people, having those actual conversations about like what's going on with you right now? What do you need right now? What are you struggling with right now? When you really figure out what people want and then create things to fit what they're looking for, it gets a heck of a lot easier. Instead of trying to guess what they might want, like just ask them, figure out what their what their love language is. Like what do they need right now? What are they looking for? And fill that need. Instead of trying the exact same things that haven't been working for the last year and then still being shocked that they continue to not work when you haven't changed anything. If stuff isn't working, it's a sign that something needs to change. So you either need new products, new things to sell them. If it's the same people, then they need to see new stuff. Or you need new people. If you're selling the same stuff, you need new people to sell it to. And ideally, you kind of want both, right? I think you want a healthy mix of both in your business if you can. But you really just want to take a look at what is it that I'm doing, and is it realistic that what I'm doing can create the results that I want? And so if what you're doing is, well, I have really good intentions to post about 5 times a week, but it's July and I'm busy, so I really only posted once. And I know I need to meet new people, but it's really hard, so I'm not doing that. I don't know. And I know I should follow up, but I'm really disorganized, so I really don't follow up much. Like, do you hear this? Why would you think that business is growing? And I'm not saying this to like yell at you, more so just to kind of help you get that wake up call that you need. If you're not doing the actions, like you need to look at like what you're inputting versus what you're expecting to output. And those things need to match. If they don't match, the math isn't mathing, right? Like you're never going to get the results that you want from the work that you didn't do. You need to be doing the things that it's going to take to create the results. And the good news is all of this is within your control. The actions that you take, you are in control of, and you can change at any time. And so when you evaluate what you've been doing and be honest with yourself about what's missing and what do you need to do and what do you need to change, that can make a huge difference. And sometimes you need to get back to the basics. Sometimes what you need is just a fresh start. So sometimes a fresh start can almost feel like a reset, almost like moving backwards, getting back to what you did in the beginning that worked. For example, I just realized over these last couple of weeks, and a big part of it is because we did that big home renovation project and my husband was off work and the holiday, like there's been things going on, but I have not been creating video content, and video content is one of my very favorite things. I haven't gone live. I haven't even really been doing reels, and I love doing video content, and video content works for me, and I know that, and I haven't been doing it. So sometimes we get away from things without even realizing that we've gotten away from them. So I would encourage you to take a look and ask yourself, like, what did I used to do in the beginning that I have not been doing now? And what can I change? Is there something that I need to start doing? A business that is brand new, some of the actions will be the same as a 2 years old business, but not all of them, So sometimes you have to just take a look and say, am I doing the right things that it's going to take to get me where I want to go? And if you genuinely don't know, that's when you need some help. That's when you need a mentor. That's when you need to hire a coach to help you figure out what are the actions that you need to be taking to get where it is that you want to go. But giving yourself that fresh start. So whether you decide, okay, I'm starting fresh today, whether you do a little bit of a business relaunch, whether you decide that you're going to make over your group, whether you start a new educational series, whether you start a new program, starting something new is one of the best ways to get yourself kind of reinvigorated, in my experience, in my opinion. Continuing to try and do the same things that haven't been working, that you aren't feeling excited about, that's not really going to turn things around. But a fresh start can make a big difference. So if there's something that you have been wanting to learn about, if there's something that scares you that you've been wanting to start, if there's something that you've always considered doing in your business but just felt like the timing wasn't right, or you weren't qualified, or whatever excuse you're giving yourself, maybe right now is that best time. And I actually think summertime can be a great time to do some of the big foundational work for your business. If you got started and you were just kind of posting willy-nilly and didn't really know what you were doing, now can be the perfect time to really figure out, who is my ideal client? What is the value that I want to offer them? Like, become someone that people want to follow on social media. So many people show up and they're just like, how can I sell my stuff? How can I make sales? And they don't think about, how can I make it so that people actually want to connect with me and people actually want what it is that I do? And this is a perfect time to dive into that. And I'm actually in the process of developing a new program. What I'm going to do is kind of combine my branding program that people love with a strong focus on growing your audience and planting seeds with new people, because I think that's what really is missing for so many of us right now. But if you haven't put in that time to figure out your brand, if you haven't put in the work to do that value content and start to build your audience, this can be the perfect time to do that when sales are naturally down. So if there's anything, and I know that sometimes it's easy to cling really tight, and I think it just depends on if you truly rely on your business income to pay bills, or if it's more like side fun money. I think it just depends. Like, I remember when Clark was first born, and I got back to work after about 2 months, and people kept telling me, give yourself grace, take time. And I'm like, that's great in theory, but like literally my bills don't get paid if my business doesn't make money. Like, I don't get maternity leave from my business. I have to work. And so my business is my only source of income. I am full-time in my business. And so for me, it's not like I can just like take a break in the same way that if my business was more of a side hustle kind of thing. So I think you just kind of have to be realistic with yourself about what you and your business can afford. But this can be a really great time to stop pushing so hard, to stop clinging so tightly and trying to claw your way to what it is that you're trying to make happen, trying to drag yourself through it and making yourself feel so burnt out and so overwhelmed, and trying to do things the way that you've always had and they're not working, and you're just feeling exhausted and so just like, what do they want from me? I'm trying so hard and no one will sign up still. Like, what can I do? Instead, this can be a really great time to kind of behind the scenes start fresh and really figure out, how do I build this business the right way with the solid foundation? Because like I said, there's people who make a lot more money than me that have now quit their business this year. And I think many of them, the way that they built their business was on tactics and on strategies and on things that, I'm not saying, like, obviously strategies is like, you need strategies. But I think that sometimes people get really fixated on like the short-term growth and the number side. And then when things inevitably change and that stuff stops working like it used to, now they don't know what to do. But when you build your business on a solid foundation and you're truly someone that people like and they find helpful and they enjoy your content and they want to see it and they want to engage with it, you're not going to have nearly as many of those issues. And so this can be a really great time to start to work on some of that stuff. If you've been wanting to make over your group, do that now. If you know that you need to figure out your brand and you know that you need to figure out the value you offer, but it just feels like there's never any time, this can be a great time. If you've been wanting to start a podcast or an email list or build out some funnels or, whatever that might be that you keep telling yourself, there's no time, I don't have time to do that, I don't have time, right now can be the perfect time to do that kind of stuff and set yourself up for an amazing fall when we naturally come into a time that tends to pick up for most businesses. So, all right. I don't know if this is as like inspiring as I set out for it to be. I hope that it is. I feel like it ended up maybe being a little bit more tough love than than inspiration, and I think that's just kind of how I roll. So hopefully this has given you what you need and what you want to think about. But what I really want you to take away from this is that if things have been hard, it's probably not you, or at least not entirely you. It's very possible that it's you in the sense that you are not doing the right things and you have not adapted to the changing marketplace. But this is just a hard year in general. And this is a hard month in a hard year. And that's what I wanted you to know, that if things feel really hard right now, you're not alone and you should not throw in the towel. You should not give up, and you're absolutely not a failure. Your sales do not determine your worth. And in fact, there's a lot of people out there who probably absolutely love what you do and really want to buy from you, and they just can't afford it right now. And that's all that it is. It is not anything that you've done wrong. They just simply don't have the money for those kind of luxury purchases right now. But they will someday. And that's why it's important that you're still here. Things will change. We are not going to be in this situation forever. And the people who tough it out through this year are going to see the major benefits when things start to get better again. But you just have to hold on, and you have to pivot a little bit, and you have to be willing to try some new things. Ask yourself the hard questions. What am I doing to cause this? And, ask yourself what is and isn't within my control, and focus on the things that are within your control. If the people that are in your group right now used to buy from you, but now they're not, well, there's not much you can do about that. You cannot force those people to start buying again, but what you can do is go out and meet new people who are ready to buy right now. That is within your control. And so I really want you to just focus on what can you do, what can you build? And instead of clinging and being fearful and beating yourself up and feeling like a failure and being miserable and then feeling like, what's even the point? Why should I try? I want you to really re-anchor into, why are you doing this? Think about where it is that you want to go, and then focus on, what can I do right now to set myself up for that future? Think long-term in your business. And I know sometimes that's hard, especially if you have bills to pay and you're like, well, I need money now, not just long-term. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But you also sometimes have to just think about those long-term changes, because if you are so frazzled and just constantly overwhelmed and constantly stressed out, you're not going to make your best, most creative decisions, and you're not going to show up in the way that really helps bring those results. So unclench your teeth, take a little bit of time to relax. Take some time off if you haven't. Give yourself a small break, but don't take too long. I find the longer I take, sometimes the harder it is to get back into it. But ask yourself, what can I do and how can I have a fresh start? What can I work on right now? Because you're not a failure. You can do this. You 100% can do this. You just need a bit of a fresh start. You just need to stop beating yourself up. You need to start believing in yourself again. You need to let your business become fun again and purpose-driven again, not money and numbers-driven, and not focused on, oh no, why aren't things working? Leading from that place of purpose and helping one person at a time. Because guess what? That's how the big numbers get built, right? One person at a time that you're helping. So I hope that this has helped you. If you needed to hear this, let me know. And I hope that this will be here for you to come back to anytime that you might need it. So you got this, okay? I promise. You are awesome. I believe in you. I bet way more people believe in you than you even think. And you just have to shake off. This year's been hard. Shake it off, okay? Think about what you really want to go after. Make a plan and get after it. And if you want some help with that, I would love to help you. I hope this episode inspires you to go take action on something you have been overthinking. As much as I wish you could, you cannot think your way to success, so promise me you're going to go take some action today. Head over to overthinkingentrepreneur.com to find all the cool stuff I've made for you over the years, like my free guide to getting more social media engagement and my Facebook group, Dynamite Entrepreneurs, which has a free course on social media basics.